Today we're going to look at ordering fractions, decimals and percentages. So if in your big books you can write the heading Gwaith dosbarth, ordering fractions, decimals and percentages, and then today's date. So when we are looking to order fractions, decimals and percentages, the easiest way to do this is to convert them all to the same type. So whether it be converting them all to decimals, converting them all to fractions, or converting them all to percentages. Once we've done this, it's easier then to compare the size of each of them and then obviously put them in order. Generally, I would say it's easiest to convert them all to percentages or all to decimals. So, if we go for all to percentages, 0.4 as a percentage, we need to times it by 100 to make it a percentage. So if it's going to move two places to the left, move into our units and then to our tens, it's going to become 40%. Then we have 15%, and then we need to convert 7 over 20. Well, we know all percentages are out of 100, so 20 goes into 100, so we can use equivalent fractions to work this out. What do we multiply 20 by to get 100? We times it by 5, so then I need to do the same to the top. 7 times 5 is 35. We know 35 out of 100 equals 35%. So now we can see we've got 40%, 15% and 35%. So when we are putting these in order of smallest to largest, we can see our smallest is going to be 15%. Our second smallest, well, we've got 40% or 35%. Well, 35% is our next smallest, but we have to write it in the form given in the question, which is 7/20ths. And lastly, our largest value is 40%, but again, in the question it's given in the form as a decimal, so we have to write it as 0.4. If you do not do that, you will lose a mark as your final answer. Okay, so even though you've converted them correctly, you have 1 mark for converting the 40% or the two of them to the same as the others, and then your third mark then is for putting them in order, in the correct order, but in their original form. Okay, so if we wrote this as 35%, we won't lose a mark here. So that is really important for you to remember that. Moving on to our next example then. Write 1/4, 0.5 and 30% in descending order. So again, I'm going to stick with writing them as percentages. So 1/4, again 4 is a factor of 100, so we can convert it to a equivalent fraction out of 100. What do we multiply 4 by to get 100? We multiply it by 25, and then we do the same on the top. You may know anyway that 1/4 is the same as 25 out of 100, which is the same as 25%. That is one of our numeracy facts that we need to be aware of. 0.5, multiplying it by 100 to become a percentage gives us 50%, and then lastly we have 30%. So we can see now we've got 25%, 50% and 30%. We need to order these in descending order. Descending order means going down, so we're starting with our biggest and we're going down to our smallest. Therefore, the biggest out of 25%, 50% and 30% is 50%. However, it is given as a decimal in the question, so we have to write it as 0.5. Next we're comparing 25% and 30%, or 30% is the next biggest. And then lastly we've got 25%, which is given as a fraction in the question, so we write it as 1/4. One final example then, write 1/5 as a decimal. So there's a couple of ways I know you've been shown how to do this. So 1/5, we can either convert it to a percentage and then to a decimal, or we know this line means divide. So we can do 1 divided by 5, where we make ourselves a bus stop. 1 goes in the bus stop and 5 is outside. 5 goes into 1, 0 times decimal point goes down, and we add a 0, carrying the 1 onto the 0. How many 5s are in 10? 20. So our answer is 0.2. Write 24% as a decimal. So percentage to a decimal, divide by 100, meaning each digit moves 2 places to the right. So we end up with 0.24. Here then, write 1/5, 24% and 0.18 in ascending order. Well, we've already converted these two to a decimal. So we have the 3 values. We've got 0.2, 0.24 and then 0.18. From the first part. So we can clearly see now the smallest value ascending, meaning smallest to biggest. We can see the smallest value is 0.18. Then the next smallest, as it has the smallest tenths value. Yeah, 1 is smaller than 2, and we can see then 0.2 is smaller than 0.24, so 1/5 is coming next, and then finally we've got 24%.